notice a dad will have added something to the board when I'm not there. These little cues that say, yeah, this does resonate with them in some way. I wouldn't say that I have every mom stopping to tell me like, oh yeah, I really love that as a communication tool. But at the same time, there isn't really an interval where they could even really give me that feedback, except maybe when we start using it, like, oh, I'm glad we're doing that. The reality is that usually as we're saying goodbye to a patient, they've just given birth, it's 2 hours in the recovery, and they're not maybe cognizant of the ways in which the whiteboard impacted that experience. So I don't know that I'm a point for that feedback, but it's my hope that that's made that more meaningful for them.
Do you find there's anything that demotivates you to do team birth?
I think, again, that it could have in the beginning. I think if I had allowed myself to be discouraged by engaging providers or feeling like it was my responsibility to, that could have been a block. But really, there's nothing. It isn't something that slows down my workflow. It isn't something that there's any impediment to the tasks that I'm doing. I guess the one thing that I think could have been discouraging about it, there's sort of that cliche of like whiteboards in other organizations where like something critical is happening with the patient and like, but you didn't update your whiteboard. It never was sort of held over us as a tool to be used above what we were practically doing for our patient. Like, say we were in a crash C-section situation, there was never someone looking over our shoulder and saying like, did you make sure you wrote that down on your whiteboard before you went? It was always like an empowering tool and not a punitive tool. And not something that you could necessarily do wrong or be penalized for, if that makes sense. Like, it was just like, what a great thing we have to talk to our moms. I think it's always had a positive feel about it for me.
Sounds good. So one of the things we want to try and understand is how you think that this is affecting patients both positively and negatively. So I hear that you've been saying that, you think that it's helping them to engage more and to really be part of the process and help their experience. Are there other things that you wanted, in addition to what we've already talked about, are there other things that you see as benefits to the patients?
I think the ability for them to ask follow-up questions and be invited over and over again into the process, like, it just gives a regular interval to say, like, is there anything else you want me to know? Is there anything else that would make this a better experience for you? Or is there anything that you don't understand? I don't know if we were always, it creates an interval to ask, is there anything else you don't understand? And I don't know that space would always be created without that tool.
Do you have any examples from your own interactions with a patient where you feel like the outcome for the patient or their experience has been impacted because of using team birth in the way their care was provided?
I feel like multi-day inductions, where there might be a lot of things going on, and you get into that multiple day, they've tried different modalities of cervical ripening or progression of labor so that they can keep tracking, like, okay, I was doing misoprostol, now I'm on Pitocin. I feel like that was really helpful to help them understand what was going on and not just this, like, 2-day blur. I know for sure there was one case who this was an example of it could have been failure to progress, or there were intervals where we really needed to talk to them that decision might have been coming down the line. And we were having these conversations earlier. And there was just she had she had so much going on that I think having a tool that she could refer back